The Five Nights at Freddy's franchise is super cryptic at best and outright unsolvable at worst, and one of the mysteries in the lore that's been deemed unsolvable by the community is the box from FNAF 4. This mysterious box haunts me in my dreams, so today I'll be laying out everything I know and finally solving this mystery. And let me tell you, the things I found are absolutely insane, so be sure to stay until the end to find out how I solved the mystery of FNAF's weirdest plot point, the box. Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is a truly enigmatic game and a truly enigmatic game franchise. But although most of the other early FNAF games seem to have a fairly straightforward story, the final chapter, as it was named on release, had nothing of the sort. It's been 9 years since this game came out, and many mysteries are left unsolved. So today, we're going back to 2015 and solving one of them, the box I mentioned earlier. But before we get started, what is the box? FNAF 4 has a grand total of 8 nights to play through, 7 normal ones and a 420 mode where every animatronic is at its maximum difficulty. The first 7 nights all have cutscenes at the end of them, and while the first 6 show the story of the crying child and his eventual death at the hands, or should I say jaws, of Fredbear, the secret we see after beating night 7 seems completely different from anything we've seen before. The only thing you see is a locked box sitting in an empty void. There's only one thing you can do, rattle the locks on the box. But no matter how hard you try, it just won't open. Eventually, faded text appears above the box. Perhaps some things are best left forgotten. For now. Back then, the box was a huge deal. Scott Cawthon, the creator of the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, talked about it a lot and teased it all the time, practically in every post he made. Until 1 month after the release of FNAF 4, when he realized that no one was able to solve the story of this 4th installment. He was frustrated that even though the previous games had been solved in mere days, the answer to this one eluded the fanbase for a whole month. So he decided that some things are best left forgotten. Forever. The box disappeared from all FNAF media and stopped being relevant forever. Or did it? As it turns out, this box is present to some capacity in lots of the FNAF games after FNAF 4, and I have an idea of what's actually in it. And what I found, apart from solving the entire timeline, will most likely shock you. But enough dramatic build-up, let's start unboxing this mystery. There have been several ideas proposed by theorists about what this box should contain, and one of the most prominent ones is the idea that this box contains a corpse. The corpse of the crying child we see in FNAF 4's minigames. For the uninitiated, the minigames we see after beating nights 1 through 6 in FNAF 4 tell us the story of a traumatized child who's terrified of the animatronics at the local Fredbear's family diner. Eventually, his bullying older brother stuffs him to the mouth of the main attraction, Fredbear, and the animatronic bites down on the kid's head.
Was that the bite of 87?
No, Mark, this is actually the bite of 83. Anyway, this results in the kid's death in a hospital soon after. This child is most likely a member of the Afton family and thus one of William Afton's children. But why would people say that this thing contains a corpse? Well, at the end of the Night 6 minigame, someone, who is believed to be William Afton, vows to put the crying child back together. It would make sense for him to keep his kid's body hidden if he wanted to bring him back, not to attract attention to what he's doing. However, there are many more plausible theories, one of which posits that the box is actually a toy chest. If you're confused, let me explain. Throughout FNAF 4's minigames and even the nights themselves, it becomes pretty clear that toys are important in more ways than one. 2 of the animatronics mechanics in the nights, Nightmare Freddy's and Nightmare Foxy's, revolve around toys and you needing to keep an eye on them while they're in toy form. In the minigames, there are toys in literally every other screen, be it the ominous Fredbear plush or a bunch of toys owned by random kids in the crying child's neighborhood. So if these toys are representative of the memory of the crying child in the eyes of his family, it would make sense that they would lock them away and try to forget the horrible tragedy that happened. Hence the text, perhaps some things are best left forgotten, for now. However, there's more evidence that we can use when talking about this box. In a post made after the release of FNAF 4, Scott said that the box was the answer to the mystery at the heart of the game. Literally. Quote, "The box is the pieces put together." But like I said, no one put together said pieces. Or did they? Well, if Scott said they didn't, it's simple, they didn't. But Scott doesn't know that today I'm in charge. I have a very different interpretation of what the box is. The box isn't a real box, but it still changes all the events we see take place in this franchise. Let me explain. I believe that the box we see after Night 7 belongs to Michael Afton, but not in the sense that he owns it or stores stuff in it, no, I believe that this box is inside Michael's brain. After Mike brings about the death of his younger brother, we see that he feels immensely guilty about it. In Sister Location, he's also extremely motivated to free his sister's soul, regardless of the extreme danger he's facing on a night-to-night basis. So if Michael is this motivated to help his siblings, it's clear that he would do his best to free their souls and give them peace. This is why he always comes back for another night in the FNAF games he's in. He's not a servant of William acting against his own will. He's acting of his own free will in an attempt to free his siblings. If he's so keen on doing this, there's almost definitely one thing driving him: guilt. Guilt for the fact that his brother was killed by his own two hands, and possibly guilt for leaving his sister Elizabeth unattended, since Mike appears to be the family babysitter of the group. There are two clear representations of Michael's guilt in FNAF 4, so let's go over the first one: Nightmare Fredbear. Zadarox, a fellow FNAF YouTuber, pointed out in the comments of one of my videos that the reason Nightmare Fredbear has a stomach mouth could be because he's a twisted version of Michael's worst fears and regrets. This is because in FNAF 4, we play as Michael around the time he works at the FNAF 1 location, dreaming that he's dreaming a dream dreamt by Crying Child in FNAF 4. Yes, this franchise is confusing. Anyway, the stomach mouth would come from Circus Baby snatching up his sister, and Fredbear would come from the animatronic that he stuffed his little brother into. Looking back, this makes a whole lot of sense. If every single animatronic in FNAF 4 represents some kind of trauma or regret that Michael has, FNAF 4 is essentially Mike's living hell. I have an idea on what Nightmare Foxy is meant to represent, and I want to make a video on that, so be sure to check that out in the future. The second representation of Michael's guilt is the box. It's quite common for victims of extreme trauma or accidents to lock away their painful memories deep inside their brains, actually forgetting about them as their mind's way of protecting them. A defense instinct, if you will. So if Michael is traumatized and broken over his actions, it would make sense that he would lock away his memories in a mental box and shove them into a corner of his subconscious that he would essentially be unable to access. This means that Michael Afton could be a victim of post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. But remember how I brought up how the box appears in other FNAF games? Well, I think that's because Michael isn't the only one who has a box in his mind. In FNAF World's game files, we can see the box wide open. This image is never seen in the actual game. In FNAF 6, the shape of the map we see during the nights, and in Henry's final speech, has the same shape as the box from FNAF 4, with squares representing the corners and the locks. There's more than one box. Every single character in this franchise has their own pain and regrets. Bite Victim, or Crying Child, whose soul FNAF World is likely trying to free, is pained because of his failed party and brutal death. Henry feels immense guilt for the part he played in the creation of Springtrap, and the deaths of the kids William murdered. This box is one of many. Every single character has their own box. I believe this specific box after Night 7 belongs to Michael, since he's the one who brought about Crying Child's death and is essentially the main antagonist of the minigames. This is what I think Scott meant when he said 4 games, 1 story on the Scott Games website. He didn't mean that it was all a dream, but rather that Michael, racked with guilt, went to all of these establishments to try and free his brother. All 4 original FNAF games combine into one story of pain, guilt, and death. Mike is the only reason all of this started, and the only reason most of the events in the franchise took place. As well as that, the color and font of the message above the box sorta match up with Michael's lines in FNAF 4, further solidifying that this box is his, just like the nightmares we play through in FNAF 4. Nightmare Fredbear and Nightmare are both representations of the guilt he feels for being unable to save his siblings. He's essentially living through his own personal hell, with twisted versions of the Fazbear animatronics him and his friends loved so much, stalking him down for his sins. Turns out William isn't the only one going through a hellish purgatory, so the only thing left for us to know now is to find out if the box is still important. Personally, I think it's not. Scott himself said that he wouldn't open the box until someone solved FNAF 4. When people took more than a few weeks to do so, Scott gave up on the box entirely, and cast it into the depths of the cavernous pit of irrelevancy, together with all the other scrapped clues and leads from the previous games he'd given up on. I think the box is not important to solving the lore anymore. It's a neat detail hinting at Michael Afton's immense guilt, sure, but apart from a subtle psychological metaphor, it's utterly and completely useless. So in conclusion, I believe that this is the key to the original 4 FNAF games. It's one story of guilt, death, and depression being lived by one man, Michael Afton. Except FNAF 2, we still don't know if he's in that game or not. Anyway, I believe that I've just unlocked the secret to the box, so now that I've solved FNAF 4, I can finally open it. Let's see what's inside. Come on, come on, come on. Okay. But they hide your body and they What? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed and want more great theories, I've got one about Agony and Remnant over on the left. And if you're a fan of listening to multiple deranged people talk about the FNAF lore, I suggest you check out my podcast on the right. We have multiple great guests on there, like Johnny the Night Guard, Gavin Gonewicha, and Sandwichley, so go take a listen. With that, friends, remember, keep on theorizing and never stop overthinking.